Can you hear me online, Jane, Dave?
I hear you.
Yes, we hear you.
Perfect, great.
Yeah,
Fantastic. So, you know, we're going to get started in a minute, but so we have some people here in Austin, and I'm pretty happy that we're revisiting Austin because for those who don't come to Austin frequently or don't ever come to Austin, it's really hot and booming right now. So if you could look out the window, you would see about a dozen building cranes building huge skyscrapers in multifamily housing. And then further out the window is the new headquarters of Apple and Google and Amazon. And Tesla is building a gigafactory here in Austin as well. So if there is a hot place to be outside of Silicon Valley, probably Austin, Texas is one of the best places to be. And I think there's a couple of people here actually who work at this company, Jackson Walker, who are ex-Californians. And there's actually some Californians here who will be here today physically and some online as well. I think Christian Mack, Christian Wave. Good to see you, Christian. Yes. Christian, are you in San Diego?
No, Newport Beach, California.
Oh, yeah, Newport Beach, terrible place. Just kidding. Newport Beach is one of my favorite places in the world. I love it, and it's really fantastic. So before we get started, I wanted to first thank Jackson Walker for hosting us and Scott Cheskowitz for being our main point of contact. And I wanted to have Scott, who's right next to me, stand up and introduce the firm. So Scott?
Sure, thank you very much, Marty. So Jackson Walker is a Texas-based firm. All our offices are in Texas, all 7 of them. Tracing our roots back to 1887. We might be the oldest continuous law firm in the state, if not, we're right up there. Full-service firm. We have approximately 400 lawyers in 7 cities, ranging from bankruptcy to wealth planning, and just about everything in between. We represent Fortune 500 companies, smaller public companies, smaller private companies, large private companies, multinational corps, financial institutions, healthcare systems, institutional investors, which is something I do, and of course, family offices. We pride ourselves on staffing our deals and transactions and litigation very lean, and efficiency is one of our constant goals. While we are located only in Texas, we do have some of our practices range throughout the country and throughout the world. Mine, for instance, I've got clients as far as Australia. But we also have a network that Jackson Walker helped found called Global Law that has participants of 89 law firms with over 4,000 lawyers in 76 countries and 141 cities around the world, where we work very closely with these, not affiliates as far as ownership goes, but affiliates as far as a group of law firms that work together quite frequently. I'm located here in Austin. I used to live in Dallas a little while ago. I've been here for about 8 years. And my own practice involves the representation of institutional investors with respect to their investing in alternative investments like private equity funds, venture capital funds, hedge funds, long-only funds, separately managed accounts. Basically everything except a pure derivative, although we have other people at the firm who do derivatives all the time. And my clients are public pensions, university endowments, sovereign wealth funds around the world, major health systems, and family offices.
And often has a plethora of endowments and foundations, of state pension funds.
That's absolutely right. Because it's the state capital, we have most of the large public pension plans in the state are located here. There are some fairly large city municipal ones as well that we represent in some of the other cities, but most of them are right here. So this is a really great city for alternative managers to come to. There's a lot of conferences here because there's such a concentration of allocators, as we call them in the business, potential investors, really, in funds. So,
right, so you got like Texas teachers, Texas state employees. I mean, there's
yeah, absolutely. Texas Municipal Retirement System,
yeah.
The Texas Education Agency, which is technically more like a sovereign wealth fund, is located here as well. But we also have, the city of Austin. We've got Austin Fire and police. You know, there's a whole host and I wouldn't want to forget employees retirement system as well, a very large public pension system that we work with. My own particular practice, I lead the team. We have about 10 lawyers plus a tax specialist in funds, where we, review commingled funds, spot issues, make sure our clients know exactly what they're getting into. It's amazing how often the documents don't reflect what the understanding of the deal actually is. And for some of our clients, we'll also do negotiation as well, including some custom terms. And for those of our larger allocators that might be writing very large checks, we might structure a custom investment arrangement from the ground up with the manager and create novel, performance-based fee structures and things like that, where we do some modeling. Spreadsheet work, which I love to do, but don't tell my boss that.
Great, and so you represent both sides, both the fund manager and the allocators?
I try not to personally. I generally represent only the allocators, but we do have a fund formation practice.
Okay, great.
Investment management practice within the firm. So we do handle both sides, yes.
Fantastic, great. All right, well, thanks so much.
Thank you.
So we're going to get started now, but just some more opening comments. So I'm Marty Sakata. I started this group about 20 years ago. Long story short, I used to work in Switzerland for a company called Swiss Bank. There was a big Russia crisis. Russia defaulted on its debt. Long-term capital management also kind of blew up at the same time. UBS was at ground zero of that, and Swiss Bank bought UBS. I moved back to the States, and I started a group of Wharton guys investing directly in private equity. It morphed into a family office group, and here we are 20 years later. So I'm glad to be here at Jackson Walker. We have around 240 people registered online who will be here during the day, and we'll probably have 20 to 30 people here in person. What else can I tell you? Oh, over the years, we've had about 45,000 people attend our events and around more than 5,000 family offices. What else can I tell you about the group? Since we went online back in April, we've had more than 1,200 people, attend our events online. Where do our speakers come from? So most of our speakers come from in-network, people that we know already, people who are suggested to be speakers. I'm not sure there's a reverb, but somebody should turn off their microphone.
Yep.
Yeah. And then let me just give some examples. I know that Austin actually is becoming like a fintech powerhouse, and so Austin had some problems with venture capital back in the 2010 time, but it's really rebounded dramatically. There's great companies in Austin. I would say Austin might be one of the leaders in the world in robotics, for example, and there's a lot of fintech and AI that's coming out of Austin, Texas. But some companies that have presented to us in the past are like On Deck Capital, which is a fintech powerhouse that went public. It was Google Venture sponsored. Second Market, which Barry Silbert started. He's a big crypto guy. And then, we've been big with a lot of funds like Pasco's Asset Management, Prelude Capital, Terra Capital Management, Pantera Capital, and Poseidon. So all of those funds are all in totally different spaces. All of them have done 100x in terms of assets under management since the time they started talking to our group. And then we've also featured many SPACs and CDO-style funds in lots of other different spaces as well. So today we're going to cover a variety of topics. We'll have speakers on private equity, venture capital, oil and natural gas, tax advantage investing. And then we'll end the day with an entertainment panel with Steve McCarthy, who runs a family office out of New York, and Nikki Walters, whose family office group won an Academy Award a few years ago. And they'll be talking about, where entertainment is going, a lot of digital media stuff, long form, short form video. We were going to have another speaker who specializes in streaming TV, but I talked to him on the phone and he told me that he is so flush with cash right now that he's just busy trying to execute projects from all the streaming online media services. So I think that gives you some kind of tenor of where the market is in media right now, which is online streaming because so many people are working from home. Our next event will probably be, so we have a speed dating private equity matchmaking event coming up August 18th. That'll be 2 or 3 hours long. We've got half a dozen private equity firms and family offices with dry powder, and they're looking to meet potential companies who have great opportunities in front of them. Our next in-person meeting will be in September. I don't have the date yet, but it's going to be either in New York or Los Angeles, or we'll be back in Texas. You can always contact me if you want to get more information about where we're going to be, when we're going to be, et cetera. So with respect to today, if you have any questions for the presenters, you can use the Q&A feature that's on Zoom. You can use chat, or if you want, just make a request and I'll turn on your volume from my desktop, and then you can just ask the question verbally. So I think we're good to go. We've got a great group of speakers here on private equity.